And kia ora and welcome to Uncovering Authenticity with me, Monique Bradley. It is a delight, as always, to have you here. This show is all about helping people find their way back to their authentic self or uncovering their magic and their brilliance in the form of a podcast that you get to watch or listen to. And what I love about this podcast is my job is to find the truth, the wisdom, the magic, the golden nugget that's hiding inside every single one of us, because you never know when that golden nugget may just change someone else's life. So that's what we're all about today. I am delighted to have in the studio a dear friend, amazing and talented designer, Mr. Jakob Carter. Woo!
Thanks for having me.
Does it feel like you're in a stadium kind of arena and there's a live Q&A? It's like you're with your own, I'm not allowed to say Oprah for copyright legal purposes, but is it like being on a big chat show?
No.
I want you to have that big chat show experience.
Yeah, no, it's cool to be here and do this with you. No, it's a cool spot. You guys have got a great setup.
It's quite cute.
Yeah, no, it's
quite
awesome. Yeah.
Now, Jakob, you fascinate me.
Oh, thank you.
You absolutely fascinate me. I met you a few years ago doing red carpet interviews at What Women Want, which is a beautiful, long, luscious lunch.
Yeah.
Where all of the ladies who lunch go once a year, hosted by iMagazine, Vanessa Bennett, and Panic PR, all put together these incredible events. And I remember seeing you were like this diamond, and I won't say diamond amongst the rough, but you were this diamond coming through in this. I remember this jacket was all textured, and as you walked around, you sparkled like gemstones. It had this kind of a luxury or something through the fabric, and you just looked amazing. And I remember Vanessa saying to me, this is one to watch.
Yeah,
he's an incredible young designer with a huge vision. I need you to interview him.
Yeah.
And we had that moment where I asked you, what's your story? What do you do?
Yeah.
Now that was 4 years ago?
Yeah, it must be now. I remember being super nervous in the moment, and I was just sort of like, but it was great. It was like one of my first interviews, and it was just so cool to be able to do that with you and Pete. And so it was awesome. Yeah.
And then the next time I saw you, I think was actually at the opening of, you had a pop-up store in Newmarket, a retail store. And it was just a delight to see you there in your own, absolutely flourishing with your products. And that's where I realised you'd done a collaboration with Stan Walker, and you had all of these amazing products. And then somebody said to me, "Oh yeah, Jacob's a big deal. Did you know he's actually in 400 retailers?"
Yeah. No, we're very lucky. Yeah.
How does that happen? You're just fascinating. And I want to telegraph right now, you're not old like me with thousands of years of experience under your belt. You're in your late 20s?
26 at the moment. 26. Yeah. So it's sort of
This is madness. What was I doing when I was 26? I was just out getting drunk, to be honest. Tell me about your entrepreneurial journey, because it is quite a journey.
Yeah, no, it has been. So I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and sort of, I was in high school. I remember it was year 13, and I was just, had a lot of friends, and I just wasn't very focused. And I thought that I sort of knew that I wanted to dip into the fashion world. And so I applied early, went off to fashion school, studied fashion, and then continued to study photography afterwards. And as I was studying photography, I realized I wanted to go back to fashion and try, and I loved fragrances as well. So I was like, why don't I create my own fashion and fragrance brand with, the knowledge that I've learned. And I did I remember season 1, I did the photo shoot with my own, for my own campaign, and was very lucky to work with Danielle Hayes, who, gave some amazing advice. And, so it's just been this crazy journey over 8 years of just growing and, so much hard work and making lots of friends too. Like I met so many amazing people across the journey, and to now, from starting in a portkey to now being up here in Auckland and
that's the thing. That's your origin story, portkey.
Yeah. Portkey's home.
And I can't even imagine, it's such a small town. My family are from a similar small town as well. Even though I grew up in Wellington, all my whānau are from Blenheim. Yeah. So similar kind of, actually Portuguese I think is smaller.
Oh, yeah.
So growing up, and it's semi-rural, some of it?
Yeah, no, it is very rural. Yep, no, definitely. Lots of mountains and farms and orchards.
And you're a creative in a rural environment. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was great. Like I love the environment down there. And I think very lucky in a Portuguese to have come from a creative community. A Portuguese has so many sort of artists, and it's hard not to be inspired. When you live in such a beautiful community. I think people hear things on the news like the bad things that go on in a Portuguese, but being actually from there and knowing the people from there and knowing how beautiful the place is and the people there in the town, it's constantly drawing inspiration from there. I go out to the spot at the river there in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing man-made around, and I just sit there and design. And there's just trees and nature and water and everything around, and I just sort of log out and sit there and design for hours and hours. And it's one of my favorite spots to design. So I love it out there.
Sounds magical. And I think when you can find that flow state that works for you, where time disappears and you're a part of everything and everything's a part of you.
Yeah.
And you're just doing these things, and you've got, I'm getting the goosebumps as I'm talking about it. You get that flow of inspiration coming through. Yeah. And it kind of pours out of you. Would that be
definitely
fair?
Yeah. And it's sort of I feel like it's empowering as well as you're designing. It just sort of keeps you going. Like the I know what you mean. I talk about it in my keynotes actually, about that, finding your flow state. That's what they kind of call it. Yeah.
It's the path of least resistance in the brain, where your magic, your artistry kind of channels through you.
Yeah.
And it kind of happens. There's a real difference though between the people who might have a creative side and do it and really push to make it successful.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone like you, and everybody is creative, right?
Yep.
We all approach creativity differently, but opposed to someone like you who has that creative flow experience, but you've been able to monetize it and you've turned it into a rather large business.
Yeah.
Was that part of the vision when you started?
Yes. I mean, to be fair, I didn't really know what I was doing when I started. I remember just like...
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I made mistakes along the way, and I sort of... There was a point where I was just going mad, designing so many things like, let's launch this. And it was... and I went a little bit crazy with launching things, and they were selling well. And then I just sort of had to take a step back and realize, this is a business as well, and just sort of focus a bit more on... sort of expanding the products. We started, I think I used to live in this house, like a 4-bedroom old house, and we'd have one room we would make candles in, one room we would make diffusers in, and all that sort of thing. And the lounge was full of tables, and we were putting fragrances together. And then now to having like a full warehouse in a Portakey, we've got and conveyor belts and full production lines. We make our candles and diffusers and fragrances on now. So it's so and that's only happened in the last probably 4 years that we've gone from that house, 4 or 5 years house situation to now having a big warehouse and staff so it's just
that's not a long time in business.
Yeah, no, it feels like a long time, but it has. It's As a
51-year-old woman looking at your experience, it's taken me 30 years to get here.
Yeah,
that's not a long time.
Yeah, no, it's
wow.
Yeah,
so I want to tap in and find out. So 6-year-old Jakob Carter.
Yeah.
Did 6-year-old Jakob Carter see themselves as a creative with a creative empire?
No, I mean, I didn't, to be honest. No, like when I was 6, I was so just... I saw the world very differently to everyone else. I didn't understand a lot of that, the hate and the bullying. And so I was sort of this kid who always wandered through the world just watching and taking everything in and analyzing the world around me. And I think, so when I was 6, I was always just... I feel like I was just constantly learning and looking and watching and finding myself. And I went from this like crazy farm boy riding motorbikes every day to now being in the city, like designing clothes and making fragrances. And so I really did like a full 360 from where I grew up and to now, just the completely different life. And then I have my brother who's still down there and loves his sheep shearing and farming and working for Dad with his pumps maintenance and irrigation, all that sort of thing. So we've got like such an interesting mix of family members and different personalities, and very lucky to have the family that I have.
And it sounds like you have a lot of support from your family and from the community as well.
Yeah.
So you employ local people in Opotiki, right?
We only a small amount. Like, we have a very small team at the moment, and you know, Kelly down there runs. She's our production and shipping manager. She's amazing, and we have a family come in on the odd occasion to help out when things go really crazy. If you know, so it's cool. It's very sort of family orientated, and just like a small group, but we all work so hard and just have this vision to make so much change. So much more than just products and creating something. We've got a long-term vision of making social change as well.
And that's what I got from you. We went out for lunch a few months ago and caught up, and hearing this side of the business and what your vision is. I get that people want to get into business because they want to make money.
Yeah.
But when you started talking about more of the social enterprise kind of things, and when you told me, we've got this factory and we employ the locals and I have family, like that sort of thing, suddenly it became a project that was a bit more.
Yeah.
It has a bit more heart.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, where has that part of you come from? Is it 6-year-old Jacob who observed the world and tried to work it out and didn't see or hate or didn't understand it and wants to help everyone?
Yeah.
Is it that, or is it something else that drives you to want to create a business in that way? Yeah,
I think to be fair, I learned a lot of business through my mum and dad, you know, who sort of had their own business or two. And then I think my own, to be fair, going through having quite a deep struggle with mental health in the past has it sort of fueled this fire inside of me every day to sort of get out of bed, to keep building, keep going. And I used the bad experiences I had as a late teenager, early adult, to sort of, really, I turned the energy from negative energy into positive energy through using creativity, and I use it to sort of empower me rather than pull me apart or destroy me. And it's really hard to just try, say to someone I just, switched it around, but it's because it's not something you can just switch around and do overnight. It takes a long, a period of time to realize that you just got to keep pushing, and that's the hardest part. It's sort of everyone's different, and there's no right or wrong. Yeah. And so when we caught up for lunch, you did talk to me. So it was a couple of things that had happened for you. So you just had a car accident. Yes.
And so you're still dealing with the effects of having concussion.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned to me that you have a very particular form or type of depression that you have lived with. Is that the right term for your experience?
Yeah, and I think the proper name for it's clinical depression. I was technically born lacking my body lacks production of serotonin.
Right.
So I take for about 10 years now. I think I've been taking a medication for to put back in what most people have naturally, and that possibly it would have contributed to my mental health journey, not having that serotonin to help with sleep and
of course
the natural emotions of life, I guess. And so so it's been ups and downs, and just got to sort of navigate as you go.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, especially with 400 stores and growing, that you have products and you've had fashion garments in as well. How do you, because mental health is such a big topic and everybody approaches it differently. How do you maintain your well-being with being an entrepreneur? And not just, and your name is the brand.
Yes.
And your creativity is the product. And there's a lot online because you're not just doing this for yourself. You're putting food on the table of the families of those people that work for you and ensuring that your products meet the market need. There's a lot of pressure.
So much,
So how do you manage your well-being through all of that?
So it's a funny one. It's a lot of, I have people around me to sort of help helped me manage things and sort of a bit, like I definitely wasn't off to a good start with managing it. I was sort of doing all the everything wrong, eating bad food and, when I was younger and a teenager and doing all the things that probably made it worse. And then sort of now being an adult, I remember at one point I was working 14 hours a day, 12 to 14 hours a day, pretty much every day for 3 months straight. And I just got obsessed with the business, and that became super unhealthy as well. And so I sort of had to pull back and sort of realized that like 9 to 5 sort of thing, it's usually like 9 to 8, 9 to 9 me, but
9 till midnight.
Yeah. It was that time where you get to work and focus on work, and then after, when you're outside of that time, like do things that you enjoy and love, like going to the gym and running and just those little like yoga, going to markets, going and meeting with friends and having little dinner parties, and like I guess those are the things that sort of help keep me going and help with the balance, like realizing that you've got to enjoy life and not just work.
Well, you're doing well.
Yeah. No, thank you.
You look well.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I can't even imagine, with all the moving parts involved in this business, how you are across it all, and you just are so calm and you're just so grounded and just have so much grace about your energy.
Oh,
I just think, kia ora to you for that. I just think you're remarkable. So I guess from business owner and entrepreneur to another business owner, entrepreneur, and this is a business podcast,
Totally.
We're in the business category, I think, on Spotify and things like that.
Yeah.
How the heck do you get into over 400 retail stores?
Oh, gosh.
What's the secret to success?
Well, so we did it the hard way. We literally drove around the country, store by store. Like I remember getting a map of New Zealand, looking at it, and made sure it had every town in New Zealand on it, and drawing out different routes. And I remember going to Mum one day, and I was like, Mum, I think I've got this map, and I was like, I've broken it up into 6 different routes, and I think I need to do this and go around. And so I remember Mum coming with me, and we went around together and visited a very large amount of these stores in person before to get them sort of signed up and show them products, met the owners, and it was all it's all very personal. It's not just, for me, it wasn't about selling the product to someone. It was about getting to know them, getting to know the store, the type of customers they have. It was I wanted to know the people and create that connection, and not just be
not just a hustler or be really transactional. You are not a transactional by nature.
Oh, thank you.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah. So it's sort of all about connection for me, and not just about business. It's important to make connections, and I just love meeting new people and hearing about their own journeys, and it helps. You learn so much through watching the world and listening to other people's journeys and making those connections. So it's helped me a lot. Yeah.
So you and your mum went around the country.
Literally around the country.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, sort of store by store, and that's how we got a lot of them. And then I got a distributor and into retailers, and it just sort of, really took off from a certain point, maybe just before COVID, I think. And it's just been sort of playing catch up ever since. And now we've got Australia. It looks like only a few weeks away, and that's looking very big. So we're just,
That's just insane.
Yeah. So.
I can't even get my head around that. And so you've gone from a room in a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
To international distribution.
Yeah. And yes, in about 4 or 5 years. So it's been a lot of work, and
So how did you work out to take your business from that? Like, I get driving around and doing, dare I say it, doing the hustle. But you're, at the end of the day, I always think of sales as you're solving someone's problem. So you're giving products to retailers that they haven't seen before, that are new, exciting, different.
Yeah.
And giving something that, even in a small town, the locals get tired of buying the same things over and over again. They want something different for their home. So you're helping these smaller retailers solve a problem, right?
Yeah, totally.
By bringing them new fragrances and seasonal collections and all that sort of thing. But how did you
Yeah.
at such speed. That's really fast.
Yeah, and I think it was just that determination, to like I've got this product, I've got it out there, and it was just this determination to make it succeed. And again, like turning that, every now and again, heading into something a hard wall, and just turning that into the fuel to the fire to just keep me going and keep pushing. And so it's just been it's hard to explain, really. Like, it's all just sort of happened in so many different ways. And sometimes retailers will come to us, and, in the first few years, it was a lot of us approaching stores, and, probably 75% of the time we get a yes, and then a heap of, the other quarter of the time will be no's. And then a few years later, those no's will be coming and asking us, can we sell your products and that sort of thing. So it's it's just been constantly evolving and changing, and it's been so hard. Yeah. Like,
has it been hard work, or has it been quite magical? Do you know what I mean? Because it sounds like things have shown up for you as well.
Yeah.
Or has it been a mix? Has it been a 50-50 mix of some really hard work?
Yeah, really, like some really hard work mixed with, like, I think just, putting myself out there and pushing through everything and making those connections. And so I definitely feel like I've been lucky and been given a lot of opportunities by the people I've worked with. But I think that you get opportunities by working hard. So it's you get
opportunities by standing in the middle of them and showing up and working hard. Yeah, it's really refreshing, especially for someone of your age, to be able to say that, because I know I love everybody equally, but I have heard some younger people saying, it's not fair, I don't get these opportunities. I'm like, well, how are you showing up?
Yeah, exactly. You've got to sort of like work and create, you've got to create the opportunities, open the door. So yeah. So.
I remember when I first started working as an actor, and I was like, I'm waiting for, because that's what my degree is in theatre and film and stuff. And I remember thinking, well, where are these opportunities? And they weren't showing up. And then I remember, so I had a couple of lucky things. I remember I watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show, actually.
Oh, yes.
And at the end of it, there's this great song, Don't Dream It, Be It. And I remember going, that's my song. And I went, well, if that's the case, if that's what they're saying, I'm a professional actor. And I remember the next day I got an audition, I got my first paid job.
Yeah,
and I went, right, I really am. But I noticed it was so hard. And, unless when you're an actor in New Zealand, unless you've got a gig like Shortland Street, it is quite hard. You're constantly on that hustle. Yeah. And so I found probably through necessity, I had to create opportunities for myself.
Totally, yeah.
And that's how I've managed to stay pretty much self-employed for 25 or maybe nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
And is that the sort of mindset that you're adopting? Are you focusing on what are the next creative opportunities for me? Is that part of your plan?
Yeah, sort of. And just like, there's so many parts to it, obviously growing my brand and products, but then also the social change that we're aiming to do, change with our through the launch of our products. Working with celebrities was really important to me, with these audiences that we were getting these products to. It's like, well, of course you would want to do something meaningful and make that social change if you can with that project. And I think it's super important to believe in yourself and believe in the people around you. As crazy as the idea is, I remember my mum and dad, they definitely believe in me, but there was times when, I'd come to them with an idea and they'll just be like, oh my God, it was just, so it's like, and I still made them happen as crazy as they were. And I generally to this day will write down every idea that I have and make it happen. And but I would just encourage people to believe in themselves and also believe in the people around you.
I love that. Yeah. So I've got two things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to know more about the social change stuff and what that looks like.
Yeah.
But before we jump in there, how did you manage to do a collab with Stan Walker?
Oh, so I remember thinking it was going to be a long shot, and I just had always been a big fan of Stan's. I remember buying his album. I think not long after he won Australian Idol, I think he was on. Yeah. And I remember watching the show he just won. I went and bought his CD with my auntie and uncle, listening to it on the way home when I was very young, like 10, 11 years old or something. And then it launched our first fragrance that went great, and I was like, I really want to work with Stan. So I remember putting together, I think it was this 15-page proposal roughly, just really in depth on why we should work together, what this vision that I had on what we could create. And I sent it through to his manager, and I remember it was actually it's a funny story. It was one of the hardest days of my life. I was saying goodbye to a friend that I was in love with at the time. And so I was
devastated.
Yeah. And I remember at the airport, and I was just bawling my eyes out. I had just said goodbye, and I was going down the escalator to leave the airport, and then my phone rang, and I picked up my phone, and it was Stan's manager, and he was just like, "Oh my God, we really want to work with you." And it was just, it's sort of like, I just remember sitting there, and it sort of was like this sign, it felt so right, and in such a hard moment, something beautiful came out of that. And so I feel very lucky to have been able to have this experience with, working with Stan and Lou and their team, and just amazing people. And
he's got an incredible story as well.
Yeah.
Hasn't he? And his whole health story has been incredible as well.
Totally. Yeah. He's had a rough journey with, this,
Amazing. Well, that's so incredible. And so, what I know is, and I'm wearing your fragrance today, and I absolutely love it. It just makes me smile. I love it. If you want to know more about it, head to Jakob Carter's website, which there'll be a link somewhere around this video somewhere, or whatever channel you're watching on. Fragrance, so you're making fragrances, you do candles, which are just divine. I've had a couple of your candles now. They're amazing. You do the diffusers, obviously, and you have done a whole fashion collection. Now, you mentioned to me before we hopped on here, you're not focusing on the fashion so much at the moment because the business and the diffusers and the fragrances and the candles is so big for you right now.
Yeah, so they've just sort of really taken, like, it's just kind of exploded, to be fair. Like, and we just sort of had to focus the last year on, like making sure that we can keep up with production. And, we were one of those companies that went from making 1,000 products at a time to 10,000. We weren't 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. It was 1 to 10. So we were like, we had this struggle. I remember, and it lasted a good, 2 or 3 years. We were just like, we were doing, amazing sales, but we were growing so quickly. And, that was the hardest part. We weren't sure if we were going to make it through, because we were just quite literally, that saying, I forget what the saying is, but when you grow so quickly that that everything just can topple over. And so we've luckily just spent the last year going through making sure everything's perfect, and now we're really ramped up to launching in Australia and ready for it. We were definitely ready for it.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah, so it's quite exciting.
Mind blowing. Now, when you're working and this is, I think, a great wisdom for anybody who is in business who has products and they want to take something away from you. When you're working in a vertical or a niche like that home gift wear kind of home self-love products, because they are really, I'm obsessed with candles. I've got them on every day. When you're working in that sort of vertical, it is a very crowded market.
Definitely, yeah.
And you're fighting with some really, I'm not going to mention any other names, but you are fighting with some really big names.
Definitely, yeah.
How do you stand out, or what has been the key to your success standing out in a crowded market?
I think with me, I've heard from a lot of my customers that my point of difference is sort of that I have this sort of, especially with my fashion, very classic silhouettes and very timeless pieces. And, I put so much time and energy and effort into every single design to make sure it's perfect before launching it. And I think it's that, everyone just seems to have loved the quality and all of that of the products. It's a good one. It's a good one. And I'm asking you big questions. If you need a glass of water, by the way, because we're talking a lot. Please have some water. I'm going to have some too. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hydrate the brain. Yeah. But I'm thinking too, with the likes of the diffusers and the candles, what do you think stood out for you? What's been the key to success? I remember one day a distributor putting out our products on the table next to a Koya, glass house, and he goes to me, "Why do you think your products are the best?" And then I sort of sat there and looked at them all, and I was like, well, I think mine are the best, because we've got the cream colored glass, and it has the, it shows the natural light, and then we've got the heavy metal gold lid, and it's more eco-friendly, and using soy wax, and we've got strong oils. They're triple scented, mostly natural, and soon will be entirely natural. So I feel like we definitely
they grill you, don't they?
Yeah, and we had to sort of. It was actually just our distributor that wanted to make me realize how special my products were, rather and it was like I think a lot of people have told me I've sort of undervalued my products in the past, and so. It's sort of been something that I've been learning, I guess you could say.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about was the social change. What does social change look like for you?
So, like, for example, with Stan, when working with Stan, he launched his song "Human," and that was for Stan. His song "Human" was about reminding men that are struggling with mental health. Because straight men in particular, struggle to show their emotions.
Show emotions, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that was what Stan was trying to portray with Human, was to remind men to talk to each other, sure, men love to take the piss out of each other and have a laugh and have a good time and that sort of thing, but it's also important to remind them that you can also need to talk to each other if you're in a tough spot. And so that was the point of Human, and why we promoted Human and sort of portrayed that into a fragrance based on it. And so people I didn't understand it at first, like, how do you portray that into a fragrance? And it's like, well, we're not trying to put the two together. We're using the fragrance, which represents Stan's own journey, and then using that audience and thing to
make the statement, basically. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so clever.
Yeah.
I love that. So I've already taken away so many nuggets of wisdom that I wish I had have known when I was your age. Like I said, I was just too busy, mostly going out the weekend, having far too many wines.
But
it's all about balance, isn't it?
Totally, yeah.
But the one thing, and I've picked your brain so much, and your brain is magnificent and amazing, and you have done so well considering you are still dealing with a concussion, and still recovering, and everything else that you have to deal with, as well as getting ready for a launch into a whole nother country. So you've got a lot going on. I'm just grateful we've been able to share time and space and make it work. I'm so grateful to you. The final thing I want to ask you is if you could have that one big nugget that you would give to people if they are thinking of an entrepreneurial journey, or if they just need that motivation to try something different or whatever. What's your mic drop moment?
I think, like I said before, believe in yourself, believe in the people around you, but also don't be afraid to ask for help, from the people around you. Like, make sure people you trust and people that that you can love. You make sure it's the right people, but don't be afraid to open up and ask for help for people around you as well, for them to be a part of that journey with you. Yeah,
it makes me quite emotional. It's really cool, because so often I think, and particularly the older generations, we're taught not to ask for help. You've got to rely. Like, I came from a generation of if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm going to I'm going to make everything happen myself. And sometimes there is greater power. Totally. With a tribe or a team.
Absolutely.
And especially if this is my focus, and knowing, wow, that's your focus. Well, we could work together, and that power of collaboration.
Yeah.
So long as those values are aligned, I think it's so important.
Absolutely, yeah.
So trust yourself.
Yeah.
Trust the people around you.
Definitely.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Mic drop moment, mate. It's doing all sorts of things to my stomach. I've got the butterflies. It's just all beautiful. I'm so grateful. That you've come in today. Thank you for adding more beauty to the world. Thank you for your incredible vision of wanting to share joy and stories through the fashion and the creations that you share. Thank you for just being yourself, and for the joy and the light that you bring to a room.
Oh, thank you.
Because you do.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to have you. Just like I feel like I want to curtsy for you because you're a big deal. You're a big deal.
No.
So if people want to find out more about your amazing products, if they haven't seen them in a store near them, how can they order your products online or have a look at your range or find out more about your story?
We have sort of like everything available on our website at jakobcarter.com, spelled with a K, Jakob. It's a bit different, but no, so we have everything online, and feel free to give us a message anytime if anyone needs help with anything or looking for specific scents or products. We have a good little team to help, and thank you for having me too. I really appreciate this opportunity.
You're absolutely welcome, darling. You're just amazing, and like I said, you intrigue me. You are so interesting, and I salute you for this incredible empire that you're building. And for holding on to your vision, because business is hard.
Yeah.
And you have done more in a very short time than most people achieve in their entire lives.
Yeah. No,
so,
thank you.
Massive congratulations to you.
Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So, jakobcarter.com.
jakobcarter.com.
That's right. Yeah, I will be sharing the link to the website so you can have a look for yourself somewhere around this video or this audio feed, whatever planet you're listening on, whatever platform you're listening on. Or if you're off the planet, welcome to you as well. You're part of this podcast too. We love you all equally. But if you want to find out more, jakobcarter.com. Remember, it's Jakob with a K, and I have to do it backwards for you. In the middle of the name there, you will love the products. All I can say is he's just released the most amazing scent. I'm wearing it right now. It brings me endless joy, and everywhere I go I feel like I'm wafting, and people comment about, oh, you're wafting with great beauty. If you want to waft with great beauty, pick the fragrance. It's the best job of your life that you will always love. I'm stumbling my words now because I'm so excited. I'm heading to jakobcarter.com too. I might even see you there. Time for me to head away. Thanks so much to Pete, who's behind the scenes producing today's podcast. Couldn't do it without you. You
Thanks,
are a legend. And a big thank you to Jakob for joining me in the studio today. You are amazing. Salute you and all that jazz. And thanks to all of you for watching. It is a delight as always. And remember, because I have to say this, if you've enjoyed this chat and enjoyed my rambles as well, please like, share, subscribe. I've been told I have to do more of that. But at the end of the day, it's all about you. Enjoy these nuggets of wisdom. I know I have. My name's Monique Bradley. This is Uncovering Authenticity. Ka kite anō e noho rā. See you next time.